Far away on the Resilience, Captain Hyunwoo received new orders from Fleet Command. More ships were being. The coronation took place on Earth, in a massive ceremony watched by billions across human space. Fleet Admiral Soo-Jin Lee walked down the long hall, her military uniform replaced by robes of silver and blue. At the end, President Jae-won Lee, now elderly and near the end of his life, waited with the crown. For 24 years, humanity faced exile as separate nations united by necessity, the president said, his voice carried across every human world. Today we become one people under one banner. Today we establish the Terran ascendancy and crown our first empress. He placed the crown on Soo-Jin's head. She did not kneel. She stood tall, accepting it as an equal. When she turned to face the audience, she was no longer Admiral Lee. She was Empress Soo-Jin, ruler of 412 worlds. Her first speech as Empress was broadcast everywhere. The Council exiled us because we would not bow. We have built an empire that needs no one's permission. To our children, I promise you will inherit a galaxy where humanity stands as equals, not supplicants. To the Council, I say this. We seek no conflict, but we will accept no masters. And to every species watching, know that our doors are open. The Terran ascendancy welcomes all who seek freedom and opportunity. The last part made Council diplomats very nervous. The Empress was not just ruling humanity. She was offering an alternative to the Council itself. Chancellor Min-ho Park, who once worked as a junior diplomat during the exile, now led all of humanity's diplomatic efforts. He established the Open Stars Protocol within weeks of the coronation. The protocol was simple. Any species, whether Council members or not, could trade freely with humanity. Any species could send diplomats to Terran space. Any species could apply for protection under Terran law. Most controversially, any species could emigrate to human colonies if they wished. The Council watched with alarm as 17 non-Council species signed treaties with the Ascendancy within the first year. These were minor species that the Council had ignored or exploited. Now they had an alternative. More worrying were the secret negotiations. Chancellor Min-ho met quietly with representatives from 3 Council species, the Thornites, the Wanderers, and the Silicates. All 3 were growing dissatisfied with Council leadership. On a neutral station, Min-ho met with Elder Thorn, leader of the Thornite species. The crystalline being sat across from the human diplomat in a private room. Your Empress offers protection and trade, Elder Thorn said. What does she want in return? Partnership, Min-ho replied honestly. The Council has 47 members, but real power rests with only a few species. The Velkari dominate policy. Others follow or are ignored. We offer something different. Equal partnership, regardless of military strength or economic power. The Council has existed for 40,000 years. You expect us to abandon it for an empire that is 24 years old. We do not ask you to abandon anything yet. Just consider alternatives. Trade with us. See how we treat partners versus how the Council treats members. Min-ho slid a data tablet across the table. Look at these trade agreements. No exploitative terms. No technology restrictions. No political demands. Just fair exchange. Elder Thorn examined the data. The terms were generous, shockingly so compared to Council standards. Why offer such favorable terms? Because we want partners, not subordinates. Because we remember what it feels like to be dismissed and pushed aside. Min-ho leaned forward. The Council exiled us because we grew too fast. How many times have they limited your species' development because you were advancing too quickly? Elder Thorn said nothing, but his silence was answer enough. Every species in the Council had faced such restrictions at some point. Think about it, Min-ho said, standing to leave. We are not asking for decisions today. Just consider that you have options now. Similar conversations happened across the galaxy. The Terran Ascendancy was not trying to destroy the Council. It was simply offering alternatives. That was somehow more threatening than any military force. On Council worlds, citizens began questioning their government. If humans could advance so quickly without Council oversight, why were Council species held back by regulations? If human colonies prospered in decades while Council colonies took centuries, were the old methods really better? If the Ascendancy welcomed all species equally, why did the Council have such obvious hierarchies? Premier Veshtar tried to maintain control, but the Council was fracturing. Some species wanted to attack humanity immediately. Others wanted to negotiate. Still others were secretly exploring partnerships with the Ascendancy. General Kronak presented a grim report to the military committee. The humans continue building ships. Our intelligence estimates they now have 3,000 warships. They are also constructing defense stations at every border system. If we attack, they are prepared. 3,000 ships, a counselor said. We have 10,000. We still outnumber them. Numbers are not everything, Kronak replied. Their ships are faster and better equipped. They can jump directly into battle while ours must travel at sublight speeds in system. In war games, I cannot guarantee victory. The committee fell silent. For 40,000 years, the Council's military superiority was unquestioned. Now a species exiled barely 2 decades ago could challenge them. What if we demonstrate our power? Another counselor suggested. A show of force along their border. Make them understand we are still stronger. Kronak considered this. It is risky. If they perceive it as aggression, they might attack. But if carefully managed, it could work as a deterrent. The plan was approved. Kronak assembled 500 warships, the largest fleet movement in Council history. They would conduct exercises along the human border, visible from Terran systems. A clear message. We are watching, and we are stronger. On Earth, Empress Sujin received intelligence about the Council fleet movement. Her military advisors recommended matching it with their own show of force. How many ships can we mobilize without leaving our systems undefended? She asked. 2,000, Your Majesty. We have sufficient reserves for defense while still overwhelming their display. Empress Sujin smiled coldly. Then do it. If they want to show strength, let us show them the reality of their situation. The Council fleet arrived at the border and began their exercises. 500 massive warships conducting coordinated maneuvers. It was meant to be impressive and intimidating. Then human ships arrived. Not 500, 2,000. They appeared simultaneously across 100 systems all along the border. Every ship had shields glowing bright blue, a new technology the Council had never seen. The ships moved in perfect synchronization, demonstrating precision that took the Council centuries to develop. The exercises lasted 3 days. Council ships performed traditional formations. Human ships demonstrated combat jumps, appearing and disappearing across the battlefield faster than Council sensors could track. They showed weapon systems that fired beams of concentrated energy, cutting asteroids in half for target practice. They displayed shield technology that shrugged off simulated attacks that would destroy Council ships. When it ended, Council commanders filed reports with one consistent theme. Humanity was not just competitive. In some areas, they were superior. General Kronak reviewed the reports with growing dread. His worst fears were confirmed. The humans had not just caught up to the Council. They had surpassed them in key technologies. What do we do? His staff asked. We pray they remain peaceful, Kronak replied. Because if war comes, the cost will be unthinkable. In a secret location, Ambassador Krell met with Chancellor Minho. The meeting was not authorized by either government. Both men were taking enormous risks. What do you want? Krell asked directly. Your Empress, your people, what is the goal? Minho considered his answer carefully. We want what you tried to deny us. Our place among the stars. Recognition as equals. The freedom to advance without artificial limits. We do not seek to destroy the Council. We seek to ensure the Council can never exile another species for daring to reach their potential. You are building an alternative to the Council. Yes, because the Council needs alternatives. Monopolies breed complacency. Competition breeds excellence. For 40,000 years, the Council has been the only option. That should not be true. Krell was quiet for a long moment. There are species in the Council who agree with you. Species tired of Velkari dominance and arbitrary restrictions. But openly siding with you would mean leaving the Council. Then they should leave, Minho said, not out of anger or rebellion, but because they have a better option. That is what we offer, not conquest but choice. The Council will see it as betrayal. The Council exiled us for advancing too quickly. Was that not betrayal? They imprisoned species behind regulations that served politics more than safety. Is that not betrayal? Minho stood up. We were punished for being what we are. Now we offer others the chance to be what they are without apology. Call it what you want, but it is just. Krell left the meeting with much to consider. He was loyal to the Council, but he also believed in justice. The humans had been wronged. Now they were strong enough to right that wrong. The question was whether the Council would accept change peacefully or fight to maintain the old order. On Colony World, Captain Hyunwoo Song sat in the command chair of the warship Resilience, watching the peaceful orbit of the colony world below. New Terra, the humans called it, home to 3 million people. Cities sprawled across 2 continents. Orbital platforms circled above. Defense stations watched the system's edges. He was drinking coffee when the alarm sounded. "Contact," his sensor officer called out. 8 ships just entered the system. Configuration matches Council patrol vessels. Hyunwoo set down his coffee carefully. This moment had been inevitable. For 24 years, humans and the Council avoided each other. That era just ended. Sound general alert. Contact Fleet Admiral Lee. Get me identification on those ships. The bridge became controlled chaos. Officers moved to battle stations. Shields powered up. Weapon systems activated. On the planet below, sirens warned civilians to move to shelters. In orbit, defense platforms rotated to face the new arrivals. Identification confirmed, his tactical officer reported. Council Patrol Fleet, Valkyrie Command. They are pursuing what looks like pirate vessels. The pirates just jumped out of the system. Hyunwoo watched his tactical display. The Council ships were slowing, scanning the system. He could imagine their surprise. They crossed into human space expecting empty systems. Instead, they found a thriving colony with orbital infrastructure and military presence. His communication officer, Ensign A. Ri-yoon, turned to him. "Sir, the Council ships are hailing us." "Put them on." The screen showed a Valkyrie commander with rank markings indicating senior officer status. His expression was confused and alarmed. "Unidentified vessels, this is Commander Thelvis of the Galactic Council Patrol. You are in violation of territorial boundaries. Withdraw immediately." Hyunwoo kept his voice calm and polite. "Commander, this is Captain Hyunwoo Song of the Terran Ascendancy vessel Resilience. You are mistaken. You have entered human sovereign space. We have claimed this system and 17 others in this sector." The Valkyrie's confusion turned to anger. "This is Council space. These systems border our trade routes. You have no right to be here." "We have every right," Hyunwoo replied. "The Galactic Council exiled humanity 24 years ago. You terminated all agreements and ordered us to leave Council territory. These systems are beyond your borders, unclaimed by any species. Under galactic law, we have settled them legally. You cannot simply claim entire systems." Thelvis shouted, "We can, we have. We will continue to do so." Hyunwoo leaned forward slightly. "Commander, you have 30 minutes to leave our space. Consider this your only warning." The Valkyrie commander's face showed disbelief. "You dare threaten a Council patrol fleet? You have 3 ships. I have 8. Power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded for inspection." Hyunwoo nodded to his tactical officer. "Show him." Space around the Resilience rippled. Fold drives activated. Ships appeared from nowhere. 5, 10, 20. The number kept growing. Within seconds, 37 human warships surrounded the Council patrol fleet. Each one had shields glowing and weapons powered. The Valkyrie commander's face went pale. His tactical officer could be heard shouting in the background. Their sensors had not detected the human ships until they appeared. "Our fold drives are more advanced than yours," Hyunwoo explained calmly. "We can jump into battle instantly from anywhere in the system. Commander, you now have 29 minutes to leave." Thelvis looked at his tactical display, then back at the screen. "This is impossible. Humans do not have this technology. You should not have this many ships, yet we do. The Council exiled us. You assumed we would remain weak. You were wrong." Hyunwoo stood up. 28 minutes, Commander. I suggest you start moving. This is an act of war." Thelvis tried to sound authoritative, but his voice shook. "No. An act of war would be us destroying your fleet for violating our territory. We are giving you a chance to leave peacefully. Please take it." The Valkyrie ships began backing away. Their weapons remained powered, but they made no aggressive moves. They had no idea what other capabilities these human ships possessed. Their only certain knowledge was that they were vastly outnumbered and surprised. "The Council will hear about this," Thelvis said as his ships prepared to jump away. "Good," Hyunwoo replied. "Make sure they hear everything. Make sure they understand that human space is sovereign. The next Council fleet that enters will not receive a warning." The Valkyrie ships jumped away. In their wake, silence filled the Resilience bridge. Then Ensign Aerie started laughing. Others joined her. They had just faced down a Council fleet and sent them running. Hyunwoo did not laugh. "Record everything. Send full report to Fleet Admiral Lee. This is just the beginning." On Earth, in the command center of the Terran Defense Force, Fleet Admiral Su-Jin Lee watched the recording 3 times. She had been Commander Lee during the exile. Now she commanded humanity's entire military, over 2,000 warships and growing. She called an emergency meeting with President Jae-won Lee, no relation despite the shared name, and the Terran Council. The president was in his 80s now, gray and tired but still sharp. "They know now," Admiral Lee said. "The Council can no longer pretend we do not exist. They have seen our ships. They have seen our colonies. They know we are not the weak species they exiled." President Lee nodded slowly. "What will they do? Panic, most likely. Then they will either negotiate or prepare for war. We should be ready for both." Director Bora Song, now head of all colonial operations, joined the meeting by hologram. "Our colonies are ready. Every system has defense stations. Every world has shelters. If war comes, we can protect our people." "War is the last thing we want," the president said. "But we will not be bullied." "Prepare a message for the council. It is time we made our position clear." Admiral Lee worked with her staff to compose the message. It needed to be strong but not aggressive, clear but not threatening. They recorded it in the same council chamber on Earth where they received the exile order so long ago. Admiral Lee stood in full military uniform, flanked by holograms showing human ships and colonies. Behind her, the Earth rotated slowly. To the Galactic Council. "For 24 years you pretended we did not exist. You exiled us, believing it would contain our growth and limit our influence. You were mistaken. Humanity has established 412 colonies across 347 systems. We have a population of 12 billion across all worlds. Our technology has advanced beyond Council standards in multiple fields. Our military is prepared to defend our territory absolutely. This is not a threat. This is a statement of fact. Human space is sovereign. Any Council vessel entering our territory without permission will be treated as hostile. We seek no conflict with the Council. But we will accept no interference in our affairs. You exiled us to protect yourselves. Instead, you freed us to reach our full potential. The exile is over not because you ended it, but because we have moved beyond needing your approval. We are not asking to rejoin the Council. We are informing you that we are now equals, whether you accept it or not." The message was transmitted across the galaxy on all frequencies. Within hours, it reached every Council world. Within days, it was the only thing anyone in galactic politics discussed. On the Council headquarters station, Premier Veshtar watched the message with growing horror. Around him, other councillors shouted and argued. Some demanded war. Others urged caution. "The chamber descended into chaos. This is your fault," one councillor shouted at Veshtar. "You said exile would contain them. You all voted for it." Veshtar shouted back. "This is not just my responsibility." Ambassador Krell sat in his seat saying nothing. He had warned them. For years he had tried to make them see. Now it was too late for warnings. Now they had to face reality. General Kronak entered the chamber and waited for silence. When he finally spoke, every councillor listened. "I have analyzed the human transmission and the encounter at Theta 9 system. The humans have at least 2,000 military vessels, possibly more. Their technology exceeds ours in propulsion, shields, and likely weapons. They have colonized hundreds of systems in the time we usually take to establish one. Their economy is robust and growing. Their population is expanding rapidly." He paused, letting the information sink in. "If we go to war with them, we will probably win. We have more ships and more resources, but the cost will be catastrophic. Thousands of ships destroyed, hundreds of worlds damaged, economic collapse. And that is assuming we win. If their technology advantage is as significant as it appears, the war could go either way." "What do you suggest?" Veshtar asked quietly. "I suggest we treat them as what they are, a major power, an equal. We can either negotiate a peace now or fight a war that could destroy both our civilizations." "Negotiate with exiles? With criminals who defied our verdict?" A councillor stood up angrily. Krell finally spoke, his old voice cutting through the noise. "They are not exiles anymore. They are an empire, one we created by pushing them away. Now we must decide, do we accept this reality, or do we fight a war we might not win?" The council chamber erupted in arguments again. Veshtar sat at the center, watching his legacy crumble. He had exiled humanity to limit their influence. Instead, he had created a rival power that could challenge the council itself. "It will be a demonstration that we never needed them at all." Far away, on a council view, Councillor Veshitar stood at the observation window of the council headquarters, looking out at the stars with satisfaction. 24 years had passed since he led the vote to exile humanity. It remained his proudest achievement. He was premier now, the highest position in the Galactic Council. His rise to power came partly because of that exile vote. Many species saw him as the leader who had protected the galaxy from human chaos. They rewarded him with their support. The exile was necessary, he often said in speeches. We maintained order. We preserved peace. We protected ourselves from a species too reckless to be trusted. His assistant brought him the daily intelligence briefing. Veshtar barely glanced at it. The same reports about human activity beyond the border appeared every week. Energy signatures detected, communications intercepted, ships spotted. He dismissed all of it. They are building some colonies, he said, waving his hand. Good. Let them stay busy out there in the darkness. As long as they remain in their corner of space, they are not our concern. His assistant hesitated. Premier Intelligence Officer Raven has requested a meeting. He says the report suggests significant human expansion. Veshitar laughed. Raven has been crying about human threats for 20 years. He sees danger in everything. Tell him I am too busy. In a small office in the intelligence wing, Raven sat surrounded by data screens. His frustration had grown into something close to despair. Every report he filed was ignored. Every warning he gave was dismissed. Every time he tried to brief the council about human activities, he was told he was overreacting. But the data did not lie. His spy drones, the few that returned from human space, brought back troubling information. Energy readings that indicated massive construction projects, gravitational disturbances suggesting hundreds of ships moving in coordinated patterns, communication networks spanning systems that should be empty. He created a presentation organizing all the data into clear categories. Ship movements, colony establishment, technology advancement, military buildups. The picture was obvious to anyone who looked. Humanity was not just surviving. They were expanding at an impossible rate. Raven requested another meeting with the Premier's office. He was denied again. General Kronak of the warborn species had his own concerns. As commander of the Council's military forces, he took threats seriously. The warborn evolved on a harsh world where only the strong survived. They understood war better than most species. He ran simulations in his tactical center, programming what little was known about human capabilities into the models. The results troubled him. Even with conservative estimates, a war with humanity would be costly. If the humans had developed their technology as much as rumors suggested, it could be catastrophic. He brought his concerns to the Council's military committee. We should send a reconnaissance force into human space. We need accurate intelligence about their capabilities. The committee members looked at him like he was mad. You want to violate the exile and risk starting a war? One asked. I want to know what we face if war comes, Kronak replied. Better to scout them now than be surprised later. Denied, the committee chair said. The exile was meant to contain them, not provoke them. We will not send ships into human space and give them an excuse for aggression. Kronak left the meeting angry and worried. He was a warrior. Warriors survived by knowing their enemies. The council was deliberately choosing ignorance. He returned to his tactical center and ran more simulations. In scenario after scenario, if humans had advanced as quickly as some reports suggested, the council's victory would be costly. Ships destroyed, worlds damaged, economic chaos. And that was assuming the council won it all. Kronak sent a private message to several military commanders he trusted. Begin quiet preparations. Increase readiness. Review defensive positions near the human border. Do not make it obvious, but be ready for anything. Merchant Tesheva of the Wanderer species made her living by going where others would not. She traded with minor species on the galactic rim. She explored unclaimed systems looking for resources. And yes, she occasionally crossed into human space to trade, even though it was illegal. The profits were too good to resist. Humans paid well for exotic materials. In return, they sold technology that was decades ahead of council equivalents at half the price. Her ship's computer was human-made. So was her faster-than-light drive. Both worked better than the council versions she replaced. But profit was not the only reason she kept trading with humans. She was fascinated by them. Every time she visited a human colony, it had grown. New buildings appeared between visits. The populations expanded. Technology improved. She visited a colony world called New Sol. The last time she was there 2 years ago, it had 50,000 people in a single settlement. Now it had 300,000 spread across a dozen cities. Farms covered the valleys. Factories hummed in industrial zones. Ships came and went from a busy spaceport. Tesheva tried to warn the council. She testified before a commercial oversight committee, telling them what she saw. The humans are not struggling. They are thriving. Every colony I visit shows impossible growth. They are building an empire and we are ignoring it. The committee chairman, a Velkari-like Premier Veshatar, looked at her with disdain. Of course you praise them. You profit from illegal trade with them. This testimony is just an attempt to justify your criminal activities. I am trying to warn you, Tesheva insisted. They are advancing faster than any species in history. We should be concerned. We are concerned about traders who break the law, the chairman replied. Your trading license is revoked. You are fined 100,000 credits. This hearing is over. Tesheva left the hearing knowing she would keep trading with humans anyway. They treated her better than her own government did. Only Ambassador Krell took the warning seriously. He was old now, his crystal body showing cracks and dark spots that came with age. He had voted against the exile 24 years ago. He had warned that it would free humanity to advance without restrictions. No one had listened then. No one listened now. He requested a private meeting with Premier Veshatar. It took 3 months to get an appointment. When they finally met, Veshatar greeted him with false warmth. Ambassador Krell, always a pleasure. What can I do for you? We need to discuss the humans, Krell said directly. Veshatar's smile faded. Not this again. Yes, this again. For 24 years we have ignored them. We told ourselves the exile contained them. But what if it did the opposite? What if we freed them to become something dangerous? They are building some colonies in empty space. How is that dangerous? Veshatar poured himself a drink from a bottle of expensive Velkari wine. Krell pulled up a datapad, showing the fragmented intelligence reports. Look at the patterns. Construction on a massive scale. Ship movements that suggest a large fleet. Technology signatures we do not recognize. Communication networks across hundreds of systems. This is not a few struggling colonies. This is organized expansion. These reports are incomplete and unreliable, Veshatar said dismissively. You are seeing patterns that are not there. I am seeing what you refuse to see. Krell stood up, his crystal body creaking. We exiled them because they advanced too quickly for our comfort. What do you think they have been doing for 24 years without our rules restricting them? Building their little empire in the darkness, Veshatar replied. Let them. It keeps them away from us. What if their empire is not little? Krell asked. What if it is vast? What if their technology has advanced beyond ours? What if their fleet is larger than we think? Veshatar laughed. It was a genuine laugh, full of real amusement. Ambassador, I respect your experience, but you are being paranoid. The Council has stood for 40,000 years. We survived the Devastator swarm. We endured the plague of autumn stars. We united dozens of species into lasting peace. Do you really think humans, barely civilized apes who only reached space a few centuries ago, could threaten us? Yes, Krell said quietly. I do. Then you are a fool. Veshatar's amusement turned to irritation. The humans are contained. The exile worked. We are safe. Now please stop wasting my time with these paranoid theories. Krell left the meeting knowing it was hopeless. The council was too comfortable, too confident, too certain of its own superiority. They would not see the truth until it was too late. In his quarters, Krell composed a message to his homeworld. I have tried to warn the council about the human threat. They will not listen. They are blinded by pride and complacency. If war comes, it will be because we were too arrogant to see it approaching. Across council space, life continued as it always had. Trade routes operated smoothly. Diplomatic meetings resolved minor disputes. Cultural exchanges celebrated the diversity of species. Military fleets patrolled borders, bored and unchallenged. The council believed itself secure. 40,000 years of history proved they were the dominant power in the galaxy. Species came to them seeking membership. They did not worry about species they exiled. On council worlds, citizens barely remembered humanity existed. Some young people had never even heard of them. The exile happened before they were born. Humans were a footnote in galactic history, a minor species that caused some trouble. Director Bo-Ra Song walked through the construction site on Mars, her boots leaving prints in the red dust. Around her, thousands of robots worked day and night, building what would become the largest shipyard in human history. Above in orbit, 3 more shipyards were already operational. 22 years had passed since the exile. Bora remembered watching the trial as a young engineer. Now she was director of the Exodus Initiative, the most powerful position in human space after the president. Her assistant, a young man named Tai Min, rushed up with a tablet. Director, the Jupiter stations report they are ahead of schedule. They will have 30 new vessels ready by month's end. Bora smiled. Good. What about the Neptune projects? Operational. All 15 automated shipyards are producing at full capacity. She looked at the numbers on the tablet and felt pride swell in her chest. When the initiative began, Earth had 12 military ships. Now they had over 800, and more were being built every single day. But the Council did not know. The shipyards were hidden behind moons, inside asteroid belts, in places no one would think to look. Across the solar system, in a laboratory deep under Antarctica's ice, Dr. Young-Sik Hwang made history. His team had just completed the first successful test of the Mark 7 fold drive. The old drives could jump a ship 2 light-years in an instant. The Mark 7 could jump 15. Young-Sik watched the test data scroll across his screen and laughed. He was 60 years old now, gray-haired and tired, but this moment made him feel young again. Record this, he told his team. Today we just made every Council ship obsolete. His assistant, Dr. Ari Choi, was already running calculations. The energy requirements are huge but manageable. We could install these on ships as small as frigates. Do it. The Council thinks their dreadnoughts are untouchable because they are so big and powerful. Let us show them that speed beats size. Young-Sik sent the data to Director Bora with a simple message. We can jump circles around them now. On the colony world of New Busan, Governor Mi-sun Kang stood before a crowd of 50,000 people. They had arrived on this planet just 5 years ago. Back then it was a frozen ball of rock with toxic air. Now farms stretched across the valleys. Cities rose in the mountains. Children played in parks under a sky that had been engineered to be blue. This is our 140th colony, Mi-sun announced, her voice carried by speakers across the settlement. By next year we will have 170. The Council believed exile would limit us to Earth and a few struggling outposts. Instead, we are building an empire that spans hundreds of systems. The crowd cheered. These were not just colonists. They were pioneers who volunteered to leave Earth and build new worlds. Every single one of them had been born after the exile. They had grown up learning that humanity was special, that they had been cast out for being too ambitious, too creative, too alive. Mi-sun continued. Our parents were exiled for daring to reach beyond what others thought possible. We honor them by reaching even further. Every world we settle, every city we build, every child born under an alien sun is proof that humanity cannot be contained. On Earth, corporate titan Jinwoo Park reviewed financial reports with satisfaction. He had redirected his entire business empire toward space industry. Other corporations followed his example. Earth's economy had completely transformed. Instead of making luxury goods and entertainment, factories now produced hull plating and engine cores. Instead of investing in real estate, people bought shares in colony ventures. The result was an economic boom unlike anything in human history. Unemployment was zero because everyone who wanted work could find it. Resources flowed from mining operations in thousands of asteroid fields. Technology advanced so fast that devices were outdated within months. Jinwoo attended a meeting of the Unified Economic Council, where business leaders coordinated with the government. We need to discuss production targets for next quarter, he said. Can we sustain this growth? The answer surprised him. We are exceeding targets by 30%, said the economic minister. The colony worlds are becoming self-sufficient faster than projected. They are already sending resources back to Earth. Jinwoo shook his head in amazement. The Council takes centuries to establish successful colonies. We do it in 5 years. That is because we must, the minister replied. We have no one to rely on but ourselves. Every colony knows that survival depends on working together and working fast. Deep in classified facilities scattered across dozens of moons, Commander Soo-Jin Lee oversaw the Silent Fleet project. She had been a junior officer during the exile. Now she was a commander, responsible for humanity's military expansion. The silent fleet was Earth's secret weapon. While the Council thought humans had perhaps 100 military ships, the truth was staggering. Over 2,000 warships were already built, with 1,000 more under construction. Each one was equipped with advanced shields, fold-capable engines, and weapons that Council scientists had deemed too dangerous to develop. Sujin walked through one of the shipyards, watching a new destroyer take shape. It was smaller than Council warships, sleeker and faster. It could jump into a battle, strike, and jump away before the enemy could respond. Her chief engineer, a man named Dong-hyun Park, joined her. "Commander, we have completed testing on the plasma lances. They can cut through Council shields like paper. What about our shields? Stronger than anything the Council has. Their weapons were designed for their own defensive technology. They will barely scratch us." Sujin allowed herself a small smile. The Council thinks their military might is unmatched. They are about to learn a hard lesson about underestimating humans. But the initiative was not just about military power. On Earth, in schools from Seoul to São Paulo, from Lagos to New York, children learned a new history. Teachers told them about the exile not as a tragedy but as liberation. 10-year-old Hana Park, named after the famous scientist, raised her hand in class. "Teacher, why did the Council fear us?" Her teacher, Mr. Jaewon Cho, smiled. "Because we learn fast. Because we try new things. Because when someone tells us something is impossible, we prove them wrong. The Council species are very old. They have been doing things the same way for thousands of years. Then humans arrived, young and energetic and full of ideas. It scared them. So they were mean to us because we were better?" Another student asked. "Not better, different. We advance quickly. They advance slowly. Neither is wrong, but they could not accept our way. So they exiled us. And that was their mistake, because now we can be as different as we want." The children absorbed this lesson. They grew up believing that being human meant being exceptional. Being exiled was not a punishment. It was a badge of honor. In deep space, exploration ships pushed further into the unknown. Captain Yejin Nam commanded the exploration vessel Discovery, searching for new systems to colonize. Her crew found a cluster of 7 habitable planets, all orbiting a stable star. "This entire cluster is unclaimed," her science officer reported. "Perfect for colonization." Yejin transmitted the data back to Earth. Within a month, the first colony ships would arrive. Within a year, there would be settlements on all 7 worlds. The Terran ascendancy, as humanity now called itself, grew larger every day. But not everyone in the Council ignored what was happening. Intelligence Officer Raven of the silicate species watched his monitors with growing concern. His spy drones sent back fragments of data from the human border. Energy signatures that made no sense. Construction on a scale that seemed impossible. Organized communications across hundreds of systems. He reported to his superiors, but they dismissed him. "The humans are building some colonies, so what? Let them play empire in the darkness." Raven knew better. He had studied humans. They did not play. When humans committed to something, they transformed reality to match their vision. But he was only an intelligence officer. No one listened to him. On Mars, Director Bora received a communication from every sector of human space. The reports were unified, ahead of schedule, exceeding expectations, ready for more. She composed a message to President Lee, now elderly but still sharp. "Mr. President, the initiative has succeeded beyond our greatest hopes. We are not just surviving exile. We are thriving. Our technology surpasses the Council in multiple areas. Our economy is stronger than ever. Our military, while still smaller than theirs, is more advanced and better prepared. Our colonies are prospering. We have transformed from a single planet to an empire of hundreds of worlds." She paused, then added, "The question is no longer whether we can compete with the Council. The question is whether they can compete with us." President Lee read the message in his office on Earth, looking out at the planet that had been exiled all those years ago. He thought about the scared diplomats returning from that trial, about the uncertainty and anger that had filled those early days. Then he thought about what humanity had become. United in a way they never were before, driven by a shared purpose, free from rules and restrictions that had limited their potential. He sent a reply to Bora. "Continue as planned. Let them keep believing we are small and weak. The longer they underestimate us, the stronger we become. When we finally reveal ourselves, it will not be a plea to return." The Council chamber floated in space like a giant steel flower. Inside, representatives from 47 alien species sat in curved rows, all facing the center platform where Captain Daeho Kim stood alone. His uniform was crisp and clean, but his hands trembled slightly as he gripped the podium. Behind him, massive screens showed the incident that brought Earth to trial. Waves of energy rippled through space, distorting 3 star systems for nearly 6 hours. No ships were destroyed. No lives were lost. But the Galactic Council did not care about that. Counselor Veshitar rose from his seat. The Velkari leader was tall and thin, with skin that shimmered like oil on water. His voice echoed through the chamber when he spoke. Captain Kim, your species developed quantum fold technology in secret. You tested it without permission. You caused gravitational chaos across 3 systems. Do you deny this? Daeho took a deep breath. We do not deny the test happened. But we informed this council 6 months before. We filed proper reports. We chose empty systems specifically to avoid any risk to life. Empty systems that border our trade routes. Veshtar's voice grew louder. Your reckless experiment could have torn holes in space itself. Your species has existed in space for barely 3 centuries. Yet you dare to experiment with technology that even we approach with caution. Dr. Hannah Park, sitting in the human delegation area, wanted to stand and shout. She had designed the fold drive. She knew every calculation, every safety measure. The test was perfect, but she remained quiet. This trial was not about facts. It was about fear. Admiral Taeyang Choi sat beside her, his jaw tight. He commanded Earth's small defense fleet, 12 ships that looked like toys compared to the massive Council warships. He knew what was coming. They all knew. Veshtar continued his speech, walking in slow circles around the chamber floor. For 2,000 years, this council has maintained peace. We have rules. We have order. Species advance slowly, carefully together. But humans... He paused, looking directly at Daeho. Humans do not follow rules. Humans rush forward without thought. Humans are dangerous. Ambassador Krell of the Thornites stood up. His species looked like walking crystals, and his voice sounded like wind through caves. Is this about safety, or is this about fear? The humans made a mistake, yes. But should we exile an entire species for one accident? Several other ambassadors murmured agreement. But Veshitar was ready. This is not about one accident. Look at their history. The screens changed, showing images of Earth. They split the atom within decades of understanding it. They built weapons that could destroy their own world before they even left it. They modify their own bodies, their own genetics without hesitation. They build artificial intelligence that questions its own existence. In 300 years, they have advanced further than most species do in 3,000. That is not progress. That is chaos. Daeho felt anger rising in his chest. You call it chaos. We call it survival. We call it curiosity. We call it the drive to be better. Is that a crime? It is when it threatens everyone else. Veshtar slammed his hand on the rail. The council votes. All in favor of exile for the human species. Lights began appearing above the council seats. Green for exile, red for allow them to stay. One by one the lights appeared. Green, green, green. A few red lights scattered among them. Green, green, green. Hannah felt tears starting in her eyes. Beside her, Admiral Choi's hands were clenched into fists. The final count appeared on the screen. 39 votes for exile. 8 votes against. The humans were out. Veshitar looked down at Daeho with something that might have been satisfaction. The verdict is clear. All human diplomatic staff must leave council space within 30 days. All trade agreements are void. All human ships must remain in your own territory. Any human vessel that enters council space will be destroyed without warning. This exile will continue until the council decides humanity has learned restraint. Daeho stood straight, his voice steady despite everything. We came to you with open hands. We shared our discoveries. We asked for guidance and friendship. You responded with fear and rejection. You will regret this decision. Is that a threat, Captain? Veshtar leaned forward. No. Daeho looked around the chamber, meeting as many eyes as he could. It is a promise. You think exile will limit us. You think isolation will slow us down. You are wrong. You have just removed the only thing that was holding us back. Your rules. Your caution. Your fear. He turned and walked toward the exit. Hannah and Admiral Choi followed him, along with the rest of Earth's delegation. Behind them, the council chamber erupted in arguments and shouts. Some species were celebrating. Others were worried. But the decision was final. The journey back to Earth took 3 weeks. Their ship, the Soul, was quiet most of the time. The crew moved through their duties like ghosts. But in the command room, Daeho, Hana, and Choi planned. They fear our speed, Hana said, looking at star charts. They took centuries to reach certain technology levels. We did it in decades. And we are not slowing down, Choi nodded slowly. Exile means no council oversight. No restrictions on our research. No limits on our expansion into unclaimed space. Daeho smiled for the first time since the trial. They meant to cage us. Instead, they opened the door. When they arrived at Earth, President Jae-won Lee met them at the orbital station. His face was tired, but his eyes were sharp. The people are angry. They want revenge. No revenge, Daeho said firmly. Something better. Something they will never expect. In the Presidential Command Center deep below Seoul, Lee called an emergency session of Earth's government. Leaders from every nation appeared on screens. The room was packed with military commanders, scientists, and corporate executives. President Lee stood at the center. The Council has exiled us. They think we will fade away in the darkness. They think we will beg to return. They are wrong. Today we launched the Exodus Initiative. He pressed a button and new images filled the screens. Ship designs, colony plans, weapon schematics, research projects that had been waiting for approval. We will build not just a fleet but an empire. We will establish colonies in every system beyond Council reach. We will perfect every technology they feared. We will grow stronger in exile than we ever could under their rules. And when we return to the galactic stage, it will not be as supplicants begging for acceptance. It will be as equals who earned their place. Admiral Choi stepped forward. I need shipyards. Hundreds of them, and I need them hidden. You will have them, said Jin-Woo Park, the corporate titan who controlled Earth's largest manufacturing companies. Every resource, every factory, every mind we have will focus on this. Dr. Hana Park raised her hand. The Council restricted certain research as too dangerous. Full drive improvements, artificial gravity manipulation, quantum computing beyond level 7, energy weapons using antimatter reactions. They banned all of it. President Lee smiled coldly. They have no authority over us anymore. Research everything. The meeting continued for hours. Plans were made. Resources were allocated. Timelines were set. When it finally ended, Daeho stood on the observation deck looking at Earth below. Hana joined him. Do you think we can really do this? Build an empire? Daeho watched the clouds swirl across the blue planet. Yes, we were rising fast under their rules. Imagine what we will do without them. They will notice eventually. Let them notice. Let them worry. Let them realize their mistake. He turned to face her. They exiled us to protect themselves. Instead, they created something they should truly fear. A humanity united, determined, and absolutely free to reach our full potential. Far away in the council chamber, Ambassador Krell sat alone in the empty room. He had voted against exile. He had warned them. Now he could only watch and wait, wondering what the humans would become without the council's restraints. In his heart, he already knew the answer. And it terrified him.